Meditation and Spiritual Life, Swami Yatiswarananda, Chapter 10, Renunciation and Detachment. Need for renunciation. It is really very strange that people suffer so much and still they do not come to their senses but cling to all kinds of false identifications. The whole world is bound by the desire for wealth and sex. People make these the goal of their life and come to grief in the end. By identifying ourselves with our body and that of others, we get into all kinds of emotional involvements and create no end of misery. Of course, there are many people who seem to thrive on all these. As in the parable of Sri Ramakrishna, the camel eats thorny leaves and bleeds in its mouth but goes on eating them all the same. But a spiritual aspirant cannot live like that. He has fixed for himself a higher goal and he cannot afford to be lost in worldly entanglements. He therefore begins to think deeply about renunciation and detachment. Renunciation is the central theme of spiritual life in all religions. Renunciation of wealth and greed, of sex and lust, and of egotism. These threefold renunciation is invariably stressed in all scriptures and by all truly spiritual men. Without renunciation, there is no spiritual life. And renunciation means not only outward renunciation but also mental renunciation. We must renounce all our clingings to our own body and mind and to that of others and become truly dispassionate and non attached in every way. It is not enough if we do this with reference to only certain things and persons while trying to cling to others all the more. It is easier to avoid certain things or people whom we don't like and call it renunciation. True renunciation is a change of attitude towards all. Why is renunciation necessary? Why should we practice so much dispassion and non attachment? Spiritual practice can never be successfully performed without giving up all old associations with things and people which are not helpful to the aspirant. Only to the extent we are prepared to renounce our desires and passions and clinging to others, either in affection or in aversion. So, either in affection or in aversion. So, if we are attached to something or if we dislike, both are attachments. We practice true religion with profit, and can any progress be made? Never allow your mind to delude you on this point. The mind always tries to bring forward some possible reason or other that we cannot renounce this or that thing, that we should be in the company of such and such a person. That is our duty to talk to him or her, etc. Never believe your mind in such cases. It is always out to deceive you and to become the spokesman of your subconscious or unconscious desires. So we need not only we need not only japa, prayer, and other spiritual practices, but also renunciation. In fact, japa and meditation are effective only to the extent to which we succeed in having more and more true renunciation and non-attachment. So, japa, dhyana, prarthana, and other spiritual practices, reading, and all has to be complemented by tyaga, which is through vichara. We have to constantly be aware of the mind, its propensities, its tendencies, its conscious, unconscious, subconscious desires, and not be fooled by them. Then only japa and meditation are effective. When these two, spiritual practices and Tyaga, are combined, this is the beautiful statement. When these two are combined, it becomes possible for us to control the mind and begin cleaning all its dirty nooks and crannies where we have allowed all kinds of filth to accumulate for ages and ages through countless births. Too much worldliness is like fire. It burns the heart, makes one callous, and insensitive to spiritual values. So beautiful. A worldly person cannot appreciate the joys of spiritual life. So, the insensitivities that we have accumulated, it can be washed off. What a hopeful statement. A worldly person cannot appreciate the joys of spiritual life. The faculty of intuition becomes so dull in a worldly person that he is no longer sensitive to higher vibrations. He has no idea of spiritual truths and just goes on wallowing in the mire of his desires and passions.